You are listening to The Growth Signal. My name is Alyssa Nolte,
And I'm Rob Levin, author of the new Talent Playbook.
and we're going to get right into it. Rob, what is your hot take?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Of course, I did know you were going to ask me this question. You know, most business owners, when things aren't going their way, when the growth isn't happening the way that they'd like it, et cetera, they usually come down to three things. They come down to, is it the product? Is it the strategy? And that could be marketing strategy or overall strategy. Or do I just need to work harder? And usually it's none of those three. What do you think it is? Well, I'll tell you. It's because you don't have your dream team. And yes, products and strategies are important, but these are really basically table stakes today. You really, today more than ever, and I can explain why, you need great people. And because of the talent crisis that we're facing here in the United States, most business owners have started settling when it comes to talent.
I am so excited to have this conversation because, in some ways, I couldn't agree more, right? Like, if you don't have a good product, if your product is garbage and your strategy, like, if you haven't met those table stakes, yeah, you're probably failing. If you're taking a 4-month vacation in your business while you are, bleeding money, you're probably failing. But it does all come back to the people that you bring into them. Are you willing to hire the right people? Are you willing to recognize when they're not in the right seat on the bus? And are you willing to hold them accountable when they don't hold up their end of the deal? And there's so much in there that business owners today, I think, are doing their teams a disservice because they're not willing to. My hot take maybe is a lot of us aren't willing to hold our teams accountable. It's easier to just stare at them on the other side of a Zoom screen than actually give them the feedback they need to grow and be the incredible team you expected.
Yes. And where I think a lot of business owners are struggling is they don't understand how important it is to have a great culture and a culture by
Yeah.
design and not by default, because every company has a culture, right? Your culture is what it feels like to work in your company. Yet most people have not built one by design. By the way, I was guilty of this in many of my previous businesses. And finally, with this business, Work Better Now, between my partner and I, we really got this right. And the results speak for themselves, multiple time Inc. 5000, all of that good stuff. So it really starts with culture and being deliberate about your people strategy, because your people are the ones doing all the work. Until AI takes over everything, which that's not happening tomorrow. It is coming, but it's not happening tomorrow. Then your culture is really important, and everything really starts from there.
I think too, a lot of us have this misconception that hire someone who's talented and they had success at a different company that they can just come in and the same will happen for us. Like, just because you were amazing at this enterprise organization that you worked at and you drove all kinds of results doesn't mean when you join a small startup, you're going to have the same level of outcomes and experiences.
I couldn't agree more. One of the things I talk about is we're in a talent crisis in the United States, and you would never know this by reading the headlines for, going back to newspaper days or social media, wherever you're getting your news from, because all you're hearing about lately is layoffs, 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 layoffs. Well, these are
Right.
all happening at large companies, and as you kind of insinuated, just because somebody's a superstar at a large company doesn't mean they're going to do well in a small business, because the skill sets are a little different, right? You got to be a little scrappier in a small business. When you're at a big business, it's about dealing with hierarchy and politics and stuff like that. And I'm not
Yeah.
belittling that, but it's a different skill set. And where many business owners go wrong, and again, I've made this mistake so many times in my past, is they are hiring based on like resume star power. Where you really have to make sure your hiring works is where cultural fit,
Yeah.
because yeah, you want people that are going to bring some skills to the table, but a lot of skills can be taught. But if you don't have cultural fit, it's not going to work. It isn't going to work. I can promise you it's not going to work. And the other good people at your company are going to be looking at you like, hey, this person doesn't have our core values. Why are they still here? And then they start to leave. They start to bring their work effort down. A lot of bad things start to happen.
I not to, like, pick on people who like, exclusively pick on people who go from large companies to small companies. It's no different the other way around, right? Like, our technical skills might be the same, but I've worked for small companies my entire career, but I consult in enterprise, and sometimes I find myself, like, stepping into someone's territory because I didn't know that there was politics afoot, and it never occurred to me, and the first time it happened to me, I was, like, flabbergasted that this is how the world worked and that there was, like, backroom conversations that were happening because there was 4 of us on the team. We didn't know that, like, this was how the process happened. But you're right, like, you have to really understand how do you take someone from, you are a technical superstar and you have X, whatever number of Fortune 100 companies in your LinkedIn headline. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna be able to come in and have that culture. So, let's ask the elephant in the room, Rob. How do I even start to hire and screen and find the people? Because I think you're right. We're not in a labor crisis, we're in a talent crisis.
That very, very well said. I might actually borrow that in the future. I'll try to give you credit if I remember. Um,
All yours.
yeah. So again, it starts it all before you even get and retention. And we could talk a little bit more about that. Um, Before we get to that, what is important is you're starting with culture and having that culture by design. Okay. So number one, when it comes to culture is what are your core values? Now, yes, if the optimal time to do this is when you're starting the company, but the second best time to do this is today. You can always start to evolve your culture. Start with your core values. What are those core values? By the way, they could be a little aspirational and get your top performers involved in that process. Okay. In terms of what are our core values. And then if people don't fit within those core values, the sooner you can exit them from the company, the better, because you're going to have all sorts of problems. I started to mention before the other top performers in the company or the top performers in the company are going to resist people who don't fit in well with your culture and don't practice your core values. And then let's talk about hiring because you mentioned that. I think a lot of companies are like, well, I'll put up a job posting and I'll get people, applying and I'll pick somebody. That's not what's going on here today. Okay. What you have to realize today is when you are hiring candidates, it's like you're soliciting for new clients. You're marketing your company. By the way, here's like a really easy thing for people to do. Go into Google and type in Glassdoor in your company name. And you're going to find out what people have to say about what it's like to work in your. That's on public display today. And the younger generations in the workforce, they really care about culture. They care about your vision, your mission, and all of that matters now. And you got to bring all of that to the table. You got to bring your A game to the table when it comes to the hiring. The last tip I'll give when it comes to hiring today is short cycle times. Like when you think about your customer journey, you want them to go through that process as quickly as possible. The same thing with employee candidates. They are looking to make decisions quickly. So if you have multiple people interviewing somebody, which is great, and it's a week apart, you're going to lose. If you have multiple people interviewing, do it the same day or maybe a day apart. Those are just a couple of tips about, number one, evolving your culture, and then how you can bring your hiring practice into what works today, how you can evolve it into what works today.
My frustration with core values as someone who's worked for different companies is sometimes it feels like the core values are something we put on the wall because we know we're supposed to. And it's not actually a decision-making tool. So if I'm leading an organization and I hear what you're saying and I agree with what you're saying, how much of the core values need to actually reflect me and how I make decisions as the leader, as the owner, as the business person who's in charge versus the collective of the team I've assembled thus far?
Wow. I've never got that question. And I think it's an amazing question. The short answer is it's your company and it's your vision. And even your top performers they can maybe understand your vision, but they're not going to really, they can't build that. So the way I would go about doing this, if I was like reevaluating the core values for Work Better Now, which is actually an exercise we're going to do because core values could change over time a little bit, is number one, it's going to start with me. And then I'm going to get my top performers, not every single person on the team. I'm going to get their take on it. And again, they can be a little bit, uh, aspirational. And the other important thing is not only is once you have those core values is, all right, how do I keep this from just being something that's, a plaque on a wall? Well, number one, are you hiring based on core values? Are you firing based on core values? Are your performance reviews incorporating your core values? Are you recognizing when people are living the core values and going beyond, above and beyond the call of duty in conjunction with the core values? At my company, at Work Better Now, we have had something the past 4 or 5 years called the W Awards, where in front of the entire team every week, anybody that's been nominated and then approved for a W Award, which means you've done something above and beyond the call of duty and consistent with the core values, they get recognized in front of their peers. And there's like a little gift certificate we give to somebody. But I can assure you, it's not about the money. It's about being recognized in front of their peers. And again, we're tying it in with those core values. So literally bringing those core values to life.
I am a firm believer that for the most part, we as human beings want to do work that's meaningful. Like, yes, I want the paycheck. Yes, I want to, climb the ladder and achieve and do all of these things. But at the end of the day, we are looking for, as a species, like a meaningful thing. If we're going to spend 40, 50, 60, 70, whatever your hours are a week doing this thing called work, I don't want it to be something where like my team shows up every Monday morning having wasted their entire Sunday being mad that tomorrow is Monday, right? Because there's too many people who are having heart attacks on Monday mornings. It's the number one day you're most likely to have a heart attack and experiencing all of these feelings about work, and the younger generation is not willing to do it, and we need them to come in and feel meeting and grow along with us, and we're not going to do that if we just say, here's a paycheck, shut up and work, it's my way or the highway. It's just not going to work with this generation.
I feel like you read my book, and I know you haven't yet. So because I couldn't have said that any better. The younger generations in the workforce, they want to be a part of something special. And by the way, your job as the owner of a business is to create a thank God it's Monday type of environment. Okay.
Yep.
Where people are like, hey, yeah, of course people want to spend time with their friends and family over the weekend. Awesome. But they're actually excited about what they're doing. And that has to do with the mission of the company, right? And not only that, but tying every role to explaining to everybody in every role how what they do reflects the mission. So, for example, I'll just give you an example. The mission at Work Better Now is we want to make people's dreams come true. We want to make the business owners who are clients, we want to make their dreams come true, and we want to make our talent workforce that we provide to our clients, we want to make their dreams come true. That's a pretty compelling mission. And by the way, when I am at an event and I'm speaking with another business owner and they go, "Oh, tell me about what you do, or tell me about how I can help you." We're on a mission to help as many business owners fulfill their dreams by expanding their capabilities. By the way, do you know anybody that we can help? That's so much better than like,
Yeah.
hey, can you just refer somebody over to my company? And by the way, this may have started as a younger generational issue, but what's happened is the younger generations are actually pulling the older generations into the same thing, which is I don't just want a job, I want to do something meaningful.
Yeah, I think we all see a little glimmer of hope of like, okay, we don't have to accept like I'm a millennial, so I'm right there in experiencing those Gen Zers. And I think we're seeing that glimmer of like, oh, we can enjoy this thing that we do every single day. And I couldn't agree more with you that it is the I always tell people it's not even that you just have the power to create great work experiences for your teammates and the people that work for you, but you also have the mandate because they will come in, they will perform better than ever before, and you will grow faster for it. Like it's not just squishy, right? Because I can hear all of the people who would say, well, it doesn't matter if you're not making money. We're not here to have a little like social club. This is work. We're here to do something which is to make money at the end of the day. And I always tell people you have to figure out how you connect everyone's work to the outcomes we're all trying to achieve and very specifically. Like one of the things I say to the team is you're either revenue generating or revenue responding. How can we make sure that you understand every single day that you come into the office, that you do something has a ripple effect, whether it's small butterfly wings flapping or a huge tsunami hitting the business? You you matter to the business no matter what your role is. Accountant number 1 is just as important as VP of sales.
That's 100% right. My buddy Jack Daly, sales guru and speaker, he refers to promise makers and promise keepers. So, your
Yep.
marketing and salespeople are your promise makers, and everybody else is your promise keepers, and they're It's all very important. And creating that line of sight between what they do and the mission of the company and the impact that it's making. One of the things we do is we share on our weekly meetings, in addition to having these W awards, we also share feedback that we're getting from clients as well as from our talent. And
Yeah.
we want everybody to see the impact that they're a part of. It's really, really powerful.
I also think too, though, you as the leader, if you want this to work, you have to be consistent. And you've said it a couple of times. Are you hiring on your values? Are you firing on your values? Are you rewarding on your values? Are you living by those values? If you're willing to compromise those values for the sake of a high performer, and let's be honest, we've all been there, right? You have a rainmaker sales guy, but he is a really terrible human being and he doesn't align with your values. Are you going to ask yourself, do I let this guy go? I mean, he's making me all this money. And if you can't unequivocally say, well, he's not in our core values and we're ready to let him go because of that, the rest of the team's gonna see it,
That's
right?
right.
And it's gonna start to fester. And whether or not it's an immediate reaction, over time, you will start to lose your true high performers, probably your promise keepers is my guess, who see that you actually don't believe those things, so therefore they can't believe them either.
Yeah. You are what you tolerate, and everybody's noticing, and it might even be on a subconscious level, but it's definitely happening. Another friend of mine, she's a scaling up coach, Jen Berkowitz. She said something really powerful the other day, which is, you have to show people the exit in one of two different scenarios, right? When they're not living their core values, or when they're just not able to get their job done, assuming that they can't fit into another role. Interestingly, she said the people that aren't fitting in your core values, those people have to be shown the door ASAP, like tomorrow. The other one where they're just not keeping up, yeah, that's a problem, but you can kind of do that when it makes sense for you. But once you
Yeah.
have somebody that's not fitting in your core values, they have to go immediately. And I know that could be painful when they're a top producer, but trust me, you will be paying the price for quite a long time. You can be doing long-term damage to your culture by keeping that person around.
And damage after that person has already left. Like, I've seen companies where that person was maybe there for 6 months and they've been gone for 2 years, and there's still that, like, stench is the word I'm gonna use, that stench of just these owners, these leaders, these people that are running our company don't actually mean what they say, and they pretend they have core values, but when really they have one value, which is don't hold people accountable and make as much money as you can.
Yeah, 100%. Because what happens is those other top performers that haven't left, what they do is they stay at the company, but they bring their productivity down because they're like, hey, if this is going to be tolerated, why should I bust my butt?
So, you mentioned at the beginning that you have a new book out. Tell us more about the book. Where can we get it? And give us like your best pitch. What is the one reason we should read this book to help ourselves create high performance teams and grow our business?
Yeah. So the book, thank you. The book is called The New Talent Playbook, The Ultimate Guide for Building Your Dream Team. And there's a few reasons that I created the book, that I wrote the book, and that why somebody should read it. Number one, as we talked about in the very beginning of the show, your team is going to be the one that's going to determine how many zeros you have in your net income at the end of the year and how many zeros you have in terms of the value of your company. It's going to be your team. That's number one. Number two, for those people who've been business owners for a while, the talent game has changed significantly over the past 5 or 10 years. And a lot of companies have not adapted. And I go into all of that, from culture and hiring and retention and AI and offshore talent, how offshore talent kind of is almost a must now for every smaller mid-sized business, and how to do it. I go into all of that detail. So that's really the reason to buy the book. And it, much like me, it's very to the point. It's not very long. It can be read in a couple hours. And there's a QR code at the back of the book where you can download a workbook that, as you're reading it chapter by chapter, you're actually building your own playbook. So it's a pretty
Cool.
cool thing. And you can get it you can get the book at Amazon. And then for those people who, because nothing's static, everything keeps changing. If you want to keep up with that discussion, you can check out my Substack at, it's also called The New Talent Playbook at Substack. And then for anybody who's interested in learning more about offshore talent and how you can start to build your dream team with offshore talent while preserving your margins, workbetternow.com.
Well, I have a copy of the book on the way. Longtime listeners will know I always get a copy of the guest book. I actually have like a stack over in the corner of what I call my trophy case of all the guests who've come on the show and have purchased a book. So make sure you guys get a copy of the new Talent Playbook. It is on Amazon. I'm excited to read it. And I think that everyone needs to remember that we are here to do business. We are here to make money. And the best way to do that is make sure you have the talent underlying it, not just the technical skills. Rob, considering all the people that you know or aspire to know, who else should we be paying attention to?
Yeah, I used to own a media company for business owners. So I've know so many successful business owners, ones that you know, you've heard of, ones that you haven't heard of. And the one person that comes to mind that everybody needs, any business owner needs to follow is Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach. By far, he is the guru or prophet or just the guy that you need to follow when it comes to being a business owner. I would highly recommend at least two of his books, Who Not How and 10x is Easier Than 2x, and follow his podcast. His company is called Strategic Coach. I'm a Strategic Coach client. I have been for a few years. It's been the most powerful. He's been the most powerful influence in terms of getting me to think bigger and
Yeah.
differently, and in a very powerful way.
I love Dan Sullivan. I follow all of his stuff. Actually, one of my favorite questions to ask in the sales process is the R factor question. If you and I got back together a year from now, what would have to happen for your year to be a wild success? And it's the question I teach every single person who I work with in sales or marketing or really any relationship building. It is a great question, and it gets people to think differently and think bigger. Also, for those of you who don't like to read, if you aren't a book person, he has like comic books, doesn't he? Or something like
So
that?
he's got many books that have comic illustrations, and you can read the book either in the text or in the illustrations. I think all of those books are available at Amazon. If not, they're available probably through Strategic Coach. And those are mini books. They're very quick reads too.
Yeah, they're good. I have them around my office somewhere. They're in here somewhere. Rob, if someone is really connecting with you, they've got a copy of the book, they wanna learn more, you've already mentioned your Substack, but they want more of you. Where can they find you online?
Best place is LinkedIn. Rob Levin, new talent playbook. I'll pop up pretty quick. That's where I like to connect with people. And if you are going to connect, please put a note in because I don't connect with everybody. Maybe I should, but I don't. Just
Yeah.
put a note in that you heard me on the show or anything like that, and I'd love to connect.
Well, Rob, thank you so much for this conversation. I think it's something every business owner needs to hear if they want to truly grow and 10x their business.
Thanks, Alyssa. I really enjoyed our conversation.